Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the network module within the Now and Android app. If we open it up here, we can see inside the Java that there is a DI, dependency injection, which we will cover later, a fake, a model, and the retrofit. So, what is the network for? The network module is basically the thing that communicates the app's needs to the remote servers to get for example, the topics or the modules or the news resources that the app is needing. What is retrofit, you might ask? If we come to Google and search it up and click on the square open source, you can see that retrofit turns your HTTP API into a Java interface. Now, the HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and it's verbs, or like you can see here, the methods are post, get, put, and delete. And if you remember from my previous video where I talked about the data store, I mentioned CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. It is very similar to the 4 verbs of HTTP. And the HTTP is built on top of the TCP/IP, which is like the foundation of the network. Of course, I'm simplifying this, and if you want to go more in depth about it, you can search up the OSI 7-layer model, and we can see here that the HTTP is at the very top of the model, the application layer, and we can see that the TCP is part of the transport layer, and the IP is the network. So there's 7 layers to it, but I'm just simplifying it to only 2, with HTTP at the very top, with TCP/IP at the bottom. Coming back to Android Studio, if we open the retrofit NIA network, we can see inside that at the very top, it's an interface that has 4 functions that is responsible for getting the topics, the news resources, the get topic change list, and the get news resource change list. And you can see at the front the annotation @get. That is one of the verbs of the HTTP. And then if we come down here, you can see that the retrofit network, NIA network, as an inject. This is the dependency injection. And the DI is going to be responsible for making the JSON file as well as the call factory, which we will look at in a moment. And here you can see it at singleton. What this annotation means is basically that there can only be one instance of the retrofit NIA network running at a single time. So that is what it means. And then we come here and see that overrides spend function, get topics, get news resources, get topic change list, get news resource change list. You can see that it's pretty much the same as here. It's in fact, the names are exactly the same. Now you might wonder, why is it the same? Well, if we come up here, you can see that this function requires an ID of a list of strings, and will return us a network's response containing a list of network topics. And same with here. And if we come down here, we can see that this function also requires a list of strings, but instead it returns a list of network topics. And here, the get topics is calling this get topic. It is implementing the interface that is defined up here into this class. And the class .data is this thing, the thing that it returns here to get the data within the network response. And that is pretty much the same thing happening here. But if you notice, the 2 things at the bottom doesn't have a .data. The reason is here. Instead of having a network response containing the list of network change lists, or instead of a network response containing these 2, it already returns us a list of network change lists, which is what we want. So it just doesn't need the .data. So let's now move on to the fake. If we open up the fake NIA network data source, and we come down here, we can see that there are 2 JSON files. I've already opened them up. It's topic and news. Inside, you can see the descriptions for the topics, short description, long description, image URL, and in here you have the news resources, the content, the URL, image URL, publish date, type, topics, so on. The reason that Android Studio, or not Android Studio, now Android has this is one, because it is an open source code. So they're obviously not going to provide you with the actual database that is being used for the actual app that you can download in the App Store. There's a reason for this. As one, it is going to be resource intensive if they do it this way, and two, it prevents people from like trying to overwhelm the servers per se by like sending in hundreds of thousands of requests and just like overall just making the experience terrible for other people. Another reason is that it's just much more efficient. If you have a fake instead of actually accessing the database, because accessing the database takes time, and if you just leave it, or if you just code it in right here and put it in the fake, it's going to access these information much faster and would make coding and debugging on this Android Studio much more efficient. And then we have the models. It's pretty basic stuff. It's data class, defining what it has. It needs a string and int of the change version and a boolean of its if it's deleted. In here we have two data classes, the network news resource and the network news resource expanded. You can see here as values of ID, title, content, URL, so on and so forth, and pretty much the same with the news network topic. And yeah, that's it.